The consensus of the polls as we approached primary day was that Andrew Cuomo would carry the election day. And if you added up all the various polls coming in, it looked like a 6, 7, 8 point perhaps win for Cuomo on election day that was going to tighten as we saw ranked choice. Because quite a few of the lesser supported candidates, including, say, Brad Lander, had cross-endorsed Mamdani, and it looked as though it was going to get very, very tight when we moved on to the 6th, 7th round of ranked choice. But that's not what happened. Mamdani had incredible momentum that was starting to show itself in some of the polling. In fact, one poll had it as close as Cuomo only up by 2 points on election day, but it ended up flipping. And Mamdani carried that incredible momentum and an enormous turnout amongst young voters who have previously never voted in a New York City mayoral primary. So the momentum certainly was with Mamdani, and Cuomo's numbers really never moved. He was, consensus had him at about 38 points amongst election day voters. He ended up at about 36. He never widened his base at all, and Mamdani ended up picking up support from the lesser candidates and on his own. So really a shocking victory for a candidate that 2 months ago, when we last polled it, was little known to many New Yorkers.
Well, as you refer to the lesser candidates that Mamdani was able to pick up, the cross endorsement of Brad Lander was really something. He, of course, got third in the first round of ranked choice voting, but he also had some choice words, shall we say, for Andrew Cuomo in the aftermath. This is him last night.
Andrew Cuomo is in the past. He is not the present or future of New York City. Good riddance.
Wow.
Second day in a row, we've had to bleep the words of a politician on this program. Don, it was the president of the United States yesterday. But to the idea of this being good riddance for Andrew Cuomo, it's not necessarily. He's floated the idea of running in the general as an independent. Would the results from yesterday, though, suggest that he stands any real shot if he tries again?
Well, I can never attempt to climb into the mind of the former governor of the state of New York. It's 4 years ago that he left office in a level of disgrace. This was an attempt at his comeback. He's going to have to make a decision. And right now, it appears with the current mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, on the ballot, that Cuomo and Adams might be competing for the same voters. These would be voters who do not feel as though Mamdani has the requisite experience, that he's too far left of some New Yorkers. There, of course, have been accusations of anti-Semitism against Mamdani. So there's a lane available for another candidate. It seems highly unlikely that there's a lane available for two candidates, both Cuomo and Adams. It'll be really interesting to see if indeed one of them decides to bow out. At this point, it really does look as though Adams is in. Cuomo's going to have to make a decision.
Really interesting, Don. So the idea of a four-way general seems less likely as we talk to you more. You're, of course, on Bloomberg, and we're talking in part to the investment community here. Up with a story on our terminal today. Wall Street decries hot commie summer after Mamdani surprise. What is the conversation on Wall Street? What are they saying at lunch today on the Upper East Side as well?
Well, certainly they're shocked. And I think in your lead-in, you certainly showed that Mamdani does not have the power to do some of the things that he's talking about in terms of raising taxes, in terms of finding a way to perhaps frighten some of our Wall Street friends to pay for the ideas that he is campaigning on in New York. So there might be some New Yorkers on Wall Street who are discounting Mamdani and saying that he'll learn. It's one thing to, as Cuomo called him, be a messenger. It's something else entirely to be the mayor of New York City. So it's going to be a wild ride here over the near future in New York City, unanticipated. And I think you also raised this idea that there's going to have to be a complicated relationship between the governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, and the mayor of New York City, if indeed it ends up being Mamdani. That right now they don't seem to be operating on the same policy playbook.
Well, to say nothing of the potential relationship or adversarial relationship we might see outright between a Mayor Mamdani and a President Trump, if that's what we end up with, Don. So in our final moment with you, how should we be thinking about what just happened in New York City and what it might signal for the Democratic Party as a whole on a national scale?
Well, we're certainly seeing a battle. We saw the White House already come out with statements denigrating Mamdani, saying that this is somehow indicative of the immigration crisis that they're trying to address nationally. We've already seen Elise Stefanik, who's campaigning against Kathy Hochul, putting out a fundraiser attacking Mamdani and saying that this shows that the Democrats have completely lost their way and are out of touch with America. So all these currents are going to be taking place. I think it's too early to tell what it says about the general Democratic Party writ large, except to the point that there are in crisis. There's a turmoil within the Democratic Party that the old guard is being pushed aside to some degree, but the extreme left wing doesn't appear likely to be able to capture the national attention. New York is one thing, a primary in New York is one thing, the United States is something different.